clearly over the weekend in the NBA, there was one big marquee game that everybody wants to break down, and it's either the greatest thing in the world and it's really awful for the other team. But we saw the Lakers, no superstars, beat the Nets, 1.5 superstars, with Kyrie Irving getting tossed. And suddenly things are looking okay for LA, right? We got the news late last night that Anthony Davis is going to come back in 2 weeks, and LeBron is probably 3 weeks away. So here are the Lakers. They're kind of holding steady in the West, and while they're dropping slowly, it's not sinking like a stone like they could have been. They're sitting in the 5th spot right now. It's still a couple of games ahead of the Blazers. Doug, are you buying that things are going to be okay now for LA now that, hey, they've been able to win a few games even without both of them, and then, hey, a couple weeks, 3 weeks, they should be back at full strength?
What does they'll be okay mean?
They will avoid the play-in games from 7 through 10 in the first round of the playoffs.
Yes, I think they. Yes, I. That's if that's your definition of okay. Does that mean they'll be the favorite to come out of the West? I think they'll be the favorite because I think it'll be easy to go like my default is to bet on LeBron James, but and Anthony Davis and two superstars combining. But I think it's a dangerous bet to take. It feels like a sucker bet. Like, look, this is the real. This is the difference between the East where he played and the West, and no one like it. It's comical the LeBron sycophants who won't admit that the East was an easy path. Like, oh, well, look what LeBron did that one year when he had nobody around him and Boobie Gibson. Like, he was great. He had, 25 straight points against the Pistons. But, like, there's all kinds of outlier one-year wonders out of the East, right? Allen Iverson did it a year. The Orlando Magic with Dwight Howard did it for a year. Like, you kind of go through, there's always, why? Because the East has been bad. And then when he was in Miami, he took the best player from the Raptors and the best player from the Heat, and the best player from the Cavs, who were the best team in the East. And then eventually they took the second or third best player and the best shooter in the league from the Celtics, and they formed a super team. And, of course, they dominated the East. That was not only never really that good, but also they pulled out the chairs from other teams that were good. Now you're in the West, and I don't know if Utah is purely better or if it's a tough matchup for them. Denver can't really defend, although, man, they scored what? They went and gave up a 31-3 run yesterday to the Celtics, and they scored 8 points in the fourth quarter. But I think they're a tough matchup. I think Utah's a tough matchup. I think Portland, if they're healthy, is a tough matchup. I think what the Lakers run the risk of is the attrition of the West. It doesn't mean that Portland can beat them 4 times, but if Portland beats them twice or 3 times, right? 3 times, and it goes to 7. Let's say they beat him twice. It goes 6. You go 6-6, and now all of a sudden you face Utah in the finals. You're worn down, and I don't know no one knows what Anthony Davis is going to look like. He was out for a long time. He's not the fitness guy that LeBron is, right? And as tremendous as LeBron is, every year he's not going to be the same guy capable of carrying you. And we don't know what Dennis Schroeder looks like in a big-time playoff matchup. Do I think on paper they should be really good and they should be great defensively with Andre Drummond? Absolutely. But again, that's on paper, and I wonder about the offense and how it looks with so many pieces that haven't played that much together and haven't played together for a couple months.
See, I look at the flip side of this and say, as long as they can stay in 6th, right? That's what I think Laker fans do. Look, hey, if we can stay in 6 and avoid that one game where, hey, we happen to play against Steph and he scores 55 and we lose and we're out. You want to avoid that. But if you can stay in 6th, I don't know that it matters where you finish in the Western Conference, because 1 through 6, they're all going to be really good. It matters a lot in the East because, look, the top 3 teams, and then there's everybody else, right? The Sixers and the Nets. The Bucks have been playing really well. They've been seeming to have figured things out a bit. And then you get the drop-off to the Hawks and the Heat and the Hornets and the Celtics. But in the West, you don't really need to finish high because, we want to avoid, you want to finish first. You want to avoid, we want teams 2-3 to play each other. I don't know that it matters. where you finish, because you're going to play somebody who's good anywhere, and no one's really going to have a pass once you get outside of, okay, the teams that are playing in for 7 and 8. 1 through 6 can be pretty much interchangeable once you hit the playoffs, because, for the Lakers, you can say, all right, have they been as good as the Jazz this year? No, the Jazz look like they're coming, and boy, they're terrific, but the Lakers' playoff experience and having LeBron and AD is going to be the great equalizer. I don't know that it really matters where you. So as long as you do finish in the top 6, I think for any of these teams, okay, it's going to be a tough road. We're going to have a couple of really tough rounds. It's going to be that war of attrition, but trying to finish higher and going, boy, we got to get higher in the conference. I don't know that that's worth it, and I need to do that.
No, it's going to come down to matchups, but I don't think they want to play that they don't want to be that play-in game like that. Like that is, you don't want the randomness of one game. You just don't. Like that's a big thing in the NBA. You don't want to be that. You don't want that one play-on game, because have we seen in college basketball, like a Abilene Christian can pull off an upset on one given night. Things that go bump in the night, you're going to lose a game. So I generally and like as of right now, there's no real home court advantage. Now, by the time we get to the playoffs, will everything be fully opened up? Will Utah be able to have all their fans? It's a possibility. Will Denver be able to have all their fans? It's a possibility. Portland, it's not likely because it's Oregon, but a possibility. So I don't, and there's also a mentality now in the NBA where, like, look, it's home court advantage, but one game, all we have to do is win one road game, and that thing flips on them. Still, you want Game 7 at home. You just do. And the Lakers probably aren't going to get that when they play the better teams.
Jason Smith and Doug Gottlieb in for Dan and the Danettes. All right, so now the flip side of this is the Nets, right? They come to this weekend. They lose a game where they had both superstars. Kyrie Irving gets thrown out. So does Dennis Schroeder. Kyrie Irving's not playing tonight for personal reasons. And, you see this, and I say to myself, are the big three ever going to play a game together? I mean, is it ever really going? Or is there some kind of schedule we don't know about with the Nets where they go, okay, we just got to have 2 guys every game because, KD needs some time off and Kyrie needs some time off. So we're just going to try to get 2 guys every single game all the way through till the end.
Yeah, look, I think they're going to be a problem when they get back. Do I think there's still some chemistry stuff because they haven't played together that much? I do. And obviously everybody is like, can they guard anybody? But they'll be okay. That dog will hunt. And unlike the Lakers, I think there's a playoff series or 2 that the Nets can use to continue to build their chemistry. So I'm with you. It's like, dude, when are you guys going to actually play a basketball game on the same basketball team? Wouldn't that be just the most amazing thing? But it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, because I don't know that their next big game isn't going to be until the Eastern Conference Finals. Right? Because as the season goes on, no matter who they have, right, we've seen their regular season good. Right, that's the Nets. They have proven they are regular season good where they can show up every 2 nights and just steamroll a team and score 130 points, whether they have Harden and Kyrie, whether they have KD, whether they have just one star. They figured that part out. So I look at it as they're probably going to finish first in the East because they'll win more games than the Sixers. The Sixers have been playing really well, but the Nets have really been coming on a little bit stronger. So I expect them to have it. And if that's the case, I mean, they're not going to have any trouble until you get to the East Finals. So as much issues they have to figure out and defensively is going to be a big thing once you get to that round in the playoffs. But I don't think they're going to really sweat until that point. So they as much as, hey, you really want them to play a little bit together, they kind of have all that time because that's when I say, okay, that's when I can really start paying attention to, hey, can the Nets achieve? We get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and now it gets serious for them.